Hey, 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 what's up, guys? How's it going? It's me, Dakota Fishman, and today I got some more tips for you for Call of Dragons. And to begin off, alright, first time you find a monument, first thing you want to do, you want to click on it, you want to go to check once you've done all the stories. I'm going to click on this. You can now see what the total amount of the map you've seen, and also it will tell you where all the monuments are. So if you want to go through and get to the monuments faster without wasting all your precious time going into the corner of the map wondering if there's a monument there, this is a lot faster. Okay, so just another little cheeky hack that I thought was kind of noticeable. The other thing too is, so if you go in a straight line, I don't know why, I noticed this in Warpath too, but when you go in a straight line like this, for example, you don't need to continuously search it. You just do this. That's all you do. That's all you do. This is all you gotta do. And it's really easy, but it's faster because when you go through, have one guy go in a straight line, you can then go back up here and they'll start to cut through. So you could actually save a lot of time just going in a straight line. Honestly, I always thought it was interesting because once in a while I'll see them like completely bug out and then they'll just like go in a straight line all the way across the map to get back home. Like I've seen some wacky stuff happen when you just do it this way, but it works. It works a lot faster than like having to go, okay, up here, okay, up here, okay, up here, okay, down here, okay, up here. You know, it's like it's just faster to go straight in a line and just kind of semi-cut it. And all these little parts that you don't do in the middle, you can ignore them because when you get to 90%, which again, you don't know what part of the map you have coverage of, yada, 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 then you can actually find an observatory and clear out the rest with the last 10% once you got 90% of the map. It's like, it's a no-brainer. Like, that's the proper use of an observatory, you know, more or less. If you don't know what an observatory is, you'll find it in the map. Naturally, okay. If you're also wanting to know where all the good resource nodes are, obviously this is why these little tabs are there. But little details make a huge difference. Something else that I noticed is some people were kind of asking about this regarding factions. So all you need to know about factions really is that like the Spring Wardens are archers, League of Orders magic, and then the Wildeberg is infantry. But what a lot of people leave out is actually the fact that Iron Riders are marksman ranged flying units. League of Order is celestial range magic flying units. And Spring Warden has the Forest Eagles, which are cav and melee flying. Now, you might be thinking, well, then what's the difference between Forest Eagles and Iron Riders? And if you know, you should know that obviously the countering of the unit types here is going to be a factor. Okay, so if these are getting treated as cavalry, but they fly, and these are getting treated as range units, but they fly, and these are being treated as magic, but they fly, then what's the one unit type in the game that we don't have flying units of? Infantry. Now, of course, the one thing I should also point out is the fact that elk riders have cav range. They're the only ones that have cav and range because everybody else is cav and melee. And it doesn't really seem to be a much of a big difference really between these two. So it's really more of a stylish it looks. Workhorses, it's really straightforward. Load capacity. In the case of Spring Wardens, it's speed. And then in the case of Wildebergs, they just get more resources once they exhaust a resource point. But beyond that, that's all that you need to know about factions. Beyond that, the only other thing that I thought would be kind of a helpful tip for people is if you're trying to get CP, you want to get it from the store, and you get your basic CP recoveries here. You want to save your gems and have at least a little over, I would say 240 gems a day if you can save it. Because what you can do is you can actually go down here and go through your Dragon Trail, grab your loot every day, but then you can also do your quick loots and do 80 a pop, and then you can get a lot more extra books, which you can then use on your heroes. And that's assuming you're not already using them to go ahead and defeat Darklings and so on and so forth. But, you know, again, it's a nice little way to min-max it. The one thing I do recommend is saving your CP, though, So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the CP that you actually get in bags. So like you'll notice here, I have a lot of CP that I'm just hanging on to, and I don't plan on using. Because what you want to do is save that up for events. It's a really, really brainstorm idea here, but you could save a lot of CP and then basically turn around and blow it on a lot of events that require a stupid amount of CP. So generally speaking, that's really where I think a lot of that ought to be spent. Beyond that, okay, aside from all the little tips and stuff that I've told you so far, about the only other thing really is that like in the goblin market when it comes around, you once in a while you want to be able to pick up, basically you'll get once in a while an option to get items in the sale for gyms on sale a little bit. And those are okay. They're good bonuses once in a blue moon. The ones that really stand out to me are like the ones for legendary medals, because legendary medals are kind of hard to come by. Beyond that, I'd say really, if anything, tacking on so for example, if you're just starting out, you might notice that when you're about 14 to 15, things are starting to go really swimmingly fast. And if that's usually about the 3rd to 4th day mark, unless you're spending, and if you're spending heavily, you're probably already there in day 1. But the main thing is that when you're like not a major spender by any means, by about 17, this is where you really kind of need to start focusing in on probably just a handful of heroes and need to pick out what your hero pairs are and know what unit types you're going to be focusing in on. Not that you shouldn't train them all, but that you should probably harvest your speeds or donate most of your speeds towards a certain thing. Obviously in the start, I think a lot of people benefit from having a lot of workhorses, so there's really no reason not to. But you also kind of need to have a good guild and a large number of people to be able to play with to kind of ensure that you don't get wiped out every time you turn around. So there's also that, but like anything, you got to be able to pick your battles. Obviously, you want to pop your boosts. Make sure you got your gather speed boost and you're making the most of that. And beyond that, I mean, really about the rest of the game at this point, really for me anyway, is just a matter of going through and clearing these. And as you see, it's like I've got a little bit left over, but with the little I have left, I'm just going to go ahead and have them march and clear out. And you'll see he'll just cut through that. Which, now, like, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me. So I might just leave him doing his thing, but, like, here, that makes sense. Because I can have him cut through, and he'll catch a little bit on the side, which is a no-brainer. And I'll just keep cutting through to kind of save time. And that's a really easy way to get through the map. But beyond that, I don't know, as far as shrines and everything else goes, I guess the only other thing too is that if you're doing your story chapters and stuff, you may max your chapters. You can also get a lot of stuff as the game goes along. You get your crucible hordes, in our case right now. And, it's like you basically want to min-max doing your events and just make sure you're getting those wonderful gems. And there's also quite a bit of stories, right? So like the Kurata's Wrath, I've gotten that, and that's basically a boost. It's a peacekeeping weapon, and it's hella useful. It basically maxes out the DPS on 10 legions. Really good. Lucia's Horn's really good for like gathering speed, and also it like refreshes, I think, a node every once in a while, which is also kind of nice. And I've got the Dragon Rift, which has been pretty cool. There are some other, as far as like, I would say like things that you don't see, and you'll notice that like I've looked around and I don't actually see them in there. So like you see them in the tails, right? But then if you go in here and you actually go check to see in the probability list, you'll notice they don't show up in there, as you can already tell. Like you might have saw that hammer, and you might have also seen like a couple of other legendaries that are not available in the probability table for the artifact draw. So that's just something I thought I'd bring up because I don't see a whole lot of people talking about it. But how you go about acquiring them, I'm not really sure myself, honestly. But I just thought I'd get that decorum started because, frankly, I don't even know what the name to these are. But that's just something that I kind of picked up on. Because what I would do is I'd just click on here, go down to illustrations, and then it's like I started picking up on things like You know, there's lots of lore in here, creature lore, hero lore. There's like a whole lot of stuff. But the one thing that really stood out to me was the artifacts. Being is that like some of these don't show up. So like we don't see this, we don't see that. There's also like I believe the bow, and then also the hammer. Those are the only ones that in the rotation that I don't see. I can't say. I think most of the purples are there, with exception. I think this one, and this one. But yeah, as far as artifacts go, there's a couple that are not even in the rotation that I've seen. And of course, you know, it's like it is kind of nice to be able to go through and look at all the pictures and the stories. We can kind of go into it more in fashion later, probably, but I'll make like a dedicated video for that. I think it makes more sense. So like, kind of go through the stories individually. The main thing is the gems, right? So like, lots of gems to be had here. 5 gems a pop for every story, every letter, every creature, and every artifact. You might as well go ahead and grab it while you can. Artifacts, actually, probably not. Never mind. But and probably the same thing we're at. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So, you know, just like that. You know, it's easy gems. A little bit of gems. But hey, it's gems all the same. And of course, I'm already on story 9 and chapter 3. So I'm kind of like working my way through it. But like anything, that's just a handful of little tips and tricks. I will say that one thing I did do in the notice board is I did burn a stupid amount of gems through this, and I didn't really do it intentionally. It just kind of came naturally to me. Which is to say that, like, a lot of things starting out, like getting your hero XP bonuses, are pretty vital. I think I should be doing artifact expertise as well, just for the arcane dust. There's really not any harm in it, you know, it's just more power to you. And you always want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. Considering that like cav units are the fastest, your group like mine happens to be like, hey, what up? You know, it's like I can just pop a sucker like this and get him there in 3 minutes flat. And since these are horses, it's not going to take as long. And if I was using like another march, it doesn't travel as fast. It's the little things, you know, it's like horses are fastest. So it's, you know, just another little pointless detail, but all the same. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.